Доброго дня.
Сьогодні у нас 26 травня 2023 року, 15:00 в Україні, 14:00 в Польщі, і ми розпочинаємо нашу лекцію в рамках науково-педагогічних стажувань, які проводяться Куявським університетом у місті Влоцлавек і тривають з 1 травня по 11 червня 2023 року. Ворог продовжує, на жаль, нас атакувати. Всі зараз ми читаємо неприємні новини з міста Дніпра, але все рівно ми продовжуємо працювати, підвищувати свій фаховий рівень, рухатися в напрямку отримання вчених звань, доцента, старшого наукового дослідника та професора. Я хочу представити наших сьогоднішніх колег з Республіки Польща, які, хочу зазначити, в минулому році, наприкінці лютого, першими відгукнулися, першими запропонували певну організаційну, фінансову допомогу, за що ми щиро дякуємо Республіці Польща за підтримку українського народу. Отже, сьогодні з вами будуть працювати Joanna Skiba, досвідчений експерт у галузі освіти та електронного навчання для дорослих, та Marcin Miziołek, сертифікований коуч та наставник. Тема сьогоднішньої нашої зустрічі – технологія, організація навчального процесу. Joanna, please speak.
Good afternoon. We're going to talk about a very broad topic today. Me and Dr. Marcin Miziołek, my colleague from Kujawski University in Włocławek, we both have quite a lot of experience in the field, and I think we will share our knowledge, not only the theoretical one, but I think also we will share some of the practical components related to the strategies and the methodology of classroom management. I will introduce some of the points that we're going to cover in our today's session and our today's dialogue, because we really tend to have this more of a dialogue and conversation. We're going to talk about the ideal classroom. What are the features of the ideal classroom, and does it really exist? The next idea will be the autonomy of the students, how to attain it, if it's something we should aim at. Also, inspirations in the classroom. The next point are the conflicts and how to solve them. And also the ideas of the difficult and easy classrooms. These are just the areas we're going to cover. The topic of classroom management is very broad, and the spectrum of concepts and notions related to this is really vast. So I would like to have some simple questions, and I would like Marcin to answer some of them, and then maybe I will be also answering some of the notions and explaining, and also, as I said, we will be sharing practical information. So Marcin, are there any specific rules for the good behavior in the classroom and how to execute the good behavior for classroom management?
Good afternoon. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to give this lecture to you. But as Joanna said, I would like to point out that it will be more of a practical approach. You know, I've had some lectures already. Some of you may know me, so it was usually theoretical and a little bit of practical information. But as Joanna said, we've had some experience in teaching, in managing classrooms, and I've just realized that it's been 17 years already for me. So this is what actually I want to, let's say, give you, and just to discuss if there is an ideal classroom, as Joanna said, or how to execute what needs to be executed. In a nutshell, just I have one thought that the most important, if you are to take anything from my speech, just if you take this one, it will actually mean a lot to me. If we want to be listened to, this is from coaching and psychology as well. If we want to be listened to by students, the simplest way to obtain that is to listen to our students. So if we want to get something from them, we need to give the same thing to them. You know, we are an example. If we don't listen to them, there's a great chance that they will not listen to us. So if we are not open-minded, and if we are not ready to actually to encourage students to take part in our lesson and actually take part in a discussion, to some extent, of course, because you are always, let's say, the leader of the classroom, and students ought to, or it would be best if they followed you or followed the rules. But I couldn't, emphasize this more as to say it once again. If we want to be listened to, we need to listen. We need to give the same thing in exchange. So actually, this is the first thing, and I think that this is the foundation of creating ideal environment and ideal classroom. I don't know what your thoughts are, Joanna.
Yes, I totally agree. And also, I remember some very special words uttered by one of my secondary school teachers. It was a geography teacher, and he was very passionate. And he said, if you want to have your audience on fire, you have to be igniting them in a way. You have to be on fire yourself. So if you expect like a good behavior, a good class, and you want to execute it, first you have to set this example. Of course, it puts a lot of pressure on the teacher, and I think this also be one of the conclusions of our session today, because what I have come up to finally, and I realized that there is a lot of pressure on the side of the teacher, and all the features of the classroom management and the strategies are always centered around the teacher, and he or she has to be, like, as you said, be a good listener, be on fire, so be an inspiration. I think to have a good class, as there is nothing like an ideal classroom where we tend to, as we have to have a model, like we are aspiring to something. It's easier to exist that way. So we have this model of an ideal classroom. I think we should encourage initiative of the students, because it depends on the level of our audience. If we are now at the academic level, I think we can do quite a lot. We can demand more, and we can encourage this initiative on the side of the students. On the other hand, we have to praise them. We have to praise our audience. We need to offer this praise, compliment them, run to good classes, and give many rewards to reinforce the connection and to obtain this emotional feedback in a way, because I think it's a transaction. Some teachers enter the classroom and we know that it will be a battlefield between the two sides, the opponents. On the one side is the teacher and the other side is the group. I sometimes had that attitude with the misbehaving classes, for example, and I knew I need to enter this and I'm like a warrior because it's a battlefield. It's a very difficult situation, difficult for the teacher and difficult for the students. Because as I said, I don't believe there is anything like an ideal classroom. We can create it and we can try to create it, but it's very, very difficult. So obtaining good behavior, it's a, I think, very complicated process because teaching and education is human process and it's human business. So it's, well, there are many rules on that, but I think there are many aspects we have to have at the back of our minds. Also thinking about creating this and managing the classroom, we have to think about the autonomy of the students. How much autonomy do you think, Marcin, the students should get in the classroom?
Even before grabbing the subject of autonomy, actually your answer also, let's say, invited me to talk about the teacher, the role, and the pressure. I work in the psychological field, so actually I love the subject of pressure. But first I would like to ask you a question. It can be a question, just for you to answer individually. You don't have to share it. If you want, you can write it on the chat box or in the chat box so we can read it. When you are about to enter classroom, any classroom, what are your feelings? Just imagine yourself just right before entering it. What are your feelings? Or even, waking up in the morning and thinking about a day at work, giving lectures. What do you feel when you know that you have to go there? So when we talk about emotions and the things that you are feeling the very moment you are thinking about it and you are entering the classroom, this is the same story. If you want to be listened to, listen to the student. So you will get what you give. If you are passionate, it will be easier. I'm not saying easy. It will be easier to for the students to actually feel the passion and join in, hop on the same train. But if you are like, angry, you feel being forced or whatever, so then they also feel it. We are human. We have this intuition, shall we say? Do you have sometimes like a feeling, I don't know, in the guts or whatever, that you just feel that somebody, I don't know, maybe doesn't like you? We know this feeling, yes? So it's the same with the students. So if you are passionate and they know you are passionate and they know that you are actually there for them and for yourself, it will probably work. And I'm saying probably because, of course, we have some students that can misbehave, but I can read in the chat box, Irina, yes, I'm glad to share my knowledge, yes? So glad, probably it's satisfaction, happiness, even though when you see us now, us two, me and Joanna giving lectures, you can actually try to feel or to guess what we are feeling, sharing our knowledge. So what you give is what you get to some extent, I would say, something that this is important. When it comes to autonomy of a student, of course, we have to treat students as a group. I mean, we do that, you know, they are as a group. But the basic need that every person has, is the need of attention. We need attention. As a child, you know, we need the eyes of our mothers, the eyes of fathers, and this is what we need. This is our behavior. So when we are older, we still need it. So as a group, yes, we can treat them as a group. But if we treat students as well as individuals, it will also be a kind of, I would say, an investment, and the teacher will get the profit, because the students, all the students, will want to be there, will feel accepted, will feel seen, noticed. So this is actually the autonomy, I would say, that is needed. I don't know if actually this is the type of autonomy you, Joanna, meant. So what's your opinion on that?
Yes, autonomy is this, I think, relation, what you have said. It again stresses and highlights the importance of this relation between the teacher and the student, so, or students as a group. So autonomy is important, I think, that's my view, but we also need to stress the authority of the teacher. In Poland, it's very powerful. It's been for years that the teacher has the omnipotent power. He or she is the authority, is the teacher talking time in the classroom. And the extent of the autonomy of the students has been very limited I think in the past years. And I think most of the teachers will agree with me that this is the model that we've been following. I think has been changing recently, like in the past 10 years. But the autonomy, I think it's quite a new notion, and it's important to create it, or just maybe sometimes even pretend that we create it, because we are ruling the classroom, and it's I think most of the time we are ruling the basics of the lessons. So this is our decision it's on our side on how much autonomy we actually give to the student. I think we should give more than we are used to, and more than we have, because it's like, I would say it's like we say bad policeman or something, like a person in control. But if we are in control of the classroom, it will be easier for us. I will do it for the students, and I will explain this because it will be faster, it will be easier. And then we are limiting this autonomy. So I was thinking about what kind of examples I can give, like practical examples on giving more autonomy to our students. So I would say it's easy with the use of technology. I think over the last 3 years in the pandemic times, we have developed lots of soft skills and IT skills as all teachers globally. As that was unwillingly, we were in a way set in the circumstances. So I think technology may help. Also open-ended projects. This is, talking about like secondary school or university level education, or student-led activities when the students are allowed to be more involved in the process. We can also prepare something like contracts. So we can prepare, it's especially important at the beginning of the academic year. We can even sign them with our students or our pupils at school. So those contracts may contain the rules of behavior, the rules of the set of the material that is necessary to follow, the behavior. And I think it's also a way of letting students have a bit more of the autonomy. But I still think, maybe I'm in the more traditional, I think we need this autonomy, but we are always in control of that. So I think the teacher's authority will be always behind it. But that's just my personal view. Do you think, Marcin, we can encourage initiative in the classroom, and how to do it?
Of course we can. I do that, and the simplest way to do it is to ask students, to invite them to conversations. Yes, so usually, as you said, the teacher in Poland, the position is powerful, usually seen as omnipotent. So there is a lot of pressure on you, of course, on the one hand, but on the other hand, you have to control the environment. Yes, if we want to have students taking part more, let's say, in our classroom, we just need to ask them. Because if you are a person who loves to have the control, you don't ask questions. You don't, let's say that people who need the control, they usually play, from the psychological view, they usually play, I would call it a guessing game. So they don't ask a student what she needs, but they guess. I think you should, this is always the first person, and I am omnipotent, and I am the oracle. Yes, and if we want to have students joining the lesson, it's not a guessing game. You just can ask what they need, what they think about it, even if you don't accept the idea. If it's just okay, an idea, but in your opinion it's not a good one, again, you ask the student, you listened to the student, you didn't agree because there are boundaries. You have to manage even the boundaries and set them, actually. So it's not that now I'm advocating let's allow students to do whatever they want. It's not my idea for ideal classroom. Yes, we should have the respect, but in order to have the respect, we should respect them. So if we are to tell them something, they are to tell us something. So it's again a kind of exchange. But as Joanna said, it's not 50% of my conversation, my speech, let's say, and 50% of students. It's not like that. Just giving them partially opportunities to speak and asking them, instead of playing a guessing game, having this attitude of a child, to be honest, of this magical thinking that I know or they should know. Yeah, this is another thing. If you have something like this, like they should know how to behave, they should know. Just tell them about the boundaries, tell them what your expectations are, name them. Don't use the magical thinking that, yeah, but they are adults, they should know. Name what you need, ask them what you need, and then it's creating your relationship, it's creating cooperation. Because when we are talking about academic level, I think this is more of what is effective.
So this all shows it's not easy. It's not an easy process, but because many people have problems asking, yes, how to ask this when this is so obvious, which doesn't have to be the case.
Okay, sorry, Anna.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, many people have this difficulty to ask, but it's easy to check. If you have a husband or a wife or a partner or a child, just think if you ask them or if you just play this guessing game. Yes, I know what you are thinking about. Yes, all the time you know or somebody made the face and you know what it means. You don't ask, you just know. Yes, so it's just the same type of attitude we can transfer into classroom or from classroom to our life, private life. So I know it's difficult to ask because we haven't been taught to ask. And why? Because we haven't been asked, probably. So, or we weren't asked when we were students. So usually it is the outcome of how we were taught.
Yes, I think it's also a good topic for another extra conversation, like asking for things. I remember attending a meeting. It was a business meeting in Warsaw, maybe 8 years ago. It wasn't related to education. It was in a big fitness club, and the manager of the club was an American expert on marketing. And he entered this hall, which was like 100 people were gathered together, and I was in the audience. And he entered it, and there was silence. But he said, "Okay, a round of applause for me now." And everybody started clapping hands because he asked for it. So he got what he asked for. So this is like, it shows that if you don't ask, you never get it. But this is, it shows how, well, people in a way can be manipulated. But I think that therefore we entered into this business to somehow have more initiative and to encourage our students, to show them how they can enter into this business and what are the tricks of a teacher. I think we can also grade the material in a way. So present the student the agenda at the beginning. I think that's what I did today at the beginning of our meeting. I told you the basic points of our session today. We can work in stages with the students. We can divide our class into sections. If some students need a quieter space, we can create a quieter space for them. We also need to maintain the relationships. So, as I said, this is always human business. Education is a human business. Initiative is also related with inspiration. Do you think it's easy to inspire students, and how to inspire the students?
If you want to inspire students, you have to be yourself. You can't just wear a mask, be an actor in a show in which actually you don't want to be. You know, if you love what you are doing, they will feel it. There's no question about it. Of course, if you are stressed, because, you know, we as teachers, we have to stand in front of a group of people, but with experience, I think the stress should be lower and we can get used to that. Yes, but you know, when I started managing a classroom of 20 students or 30, actually, it was a big deal for me. Now, if I think about the biggest audience I had was around 500 people. So then, you know, you've got a lot of eyes looking at you and having expectations, you know, because this is also what is important. But coming back to the question, how to inspire? I would say that it is, first of all, the truth, being honest, being you, being natural, smiling, having positive attitude, not being judgmental. So these are the factors, you know, but there's also one more thing. And I usually talk about it during lectures. And I ask people to answer this question. Are you more of a planner or more of a spontaneous person? What is your attitude? And when you are feeling best or better? When you have a schedule and you know what's gonna happen? Or actually when everything is spontaneous and then you feel better? Yes, so this is also the factor which, how to put it, also influences how you manage your classroom. Yeah, so as Joanna, I'm more of a spontaneous person, I would say that. But anyone who can actually write in the chat box, we would say, I know that I can count on Irina, so Irina probably will write the answer whether she's spontaneous or more of a planner. So if you could, just then we would see, you can even say P if you are a planner, or S if you are spontaneous, if you don't want to write the whole word. And then we would see how many of you are. Or maybe, you know, maybe if you are a planner and at the beginning, Joanna didn't say that there's gonna be a question, so you are not ready to answer it. So maybe it's because of that. Yeah? So okay, a planner, Joanna, a planner. I don't know if you can see the chat box. So okay, so at the moment, 100% of people who took part in the survey, planners. Yes, so this is what I learned when I started lectures and workshops, and I had students, and it was coaching as well for individual groups. I didn't give the agenda, I didn't give the schedule, because it wasn't my, you know, I didn't need that. You know, being spontaneous, it was just perfect for me. But then I realized that some of my students or attendees, they didn't feel well. I didn't know why. Of course, the lecture, they liked the lecture, but something was missing, you know, the schedule was missing. So now when I have lessons, classrooms, whatever, workshops, I give them the schedule. And now, if people are planners, they feel at home. If people are spontaneous, they don't mind. You know, it's just, it doesn't matter for them if it's there or not. So then I learned from my experience that it's better to do it in this way, because we can have planners and we can have people who are spontaneous. Yes, of course. Also being more of a spontaneous person, this is interesting. Being more of a spontaneous person is, how to put it? It's, if you are a kind of a spontaneous person, it's easier to manage misbehaving students, because you don't have, like, you know, frames. And if you are surprised by something, this is your environment, so it's easier for you to react spontaneously. If you are a planner and then you have, you know, something unexpected happening and some misbehaving students, then usually the level of stress for a student who is for a teacher who is a planner is higher than for a student who is more spontaneous.
So you have touched on the topic that I was going to ask about. So this is, well, managing a difficult classroom. I would say, maybe I will first share my thoughts, that when we have a difficult situation, we should react immediately. And I think also we should more concentrate on the deed, on the action, and not on the actual person, not on the doer. That's how I feel, that the remark doesn't get very personal. Maybe we should ask a question like, do you need any help? Rather than saying what you did something stupid or whatever, which is stronger. So what do you think? How should we manage a difficult classroom?
In this case, when somebody is misbehaving, I would actually ask, why are you doing that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's an open question. As I told you before, it's not a guessing game. So don't ask questions when they can answer yes or no. Try to stimulate an answer. Why are you doing that? What do you need? So it's an open question. They can't, what do you need? Yes. You are not expecting this kind of an answer, yes? Or what do you need? No. Yes, so they need to say something, you know, and it is just the beginning of a conversation. And of course, when we are, you know, teachers, lecturers, we can give bad marks. I'm sure, you know, all of us probably sometimes did. So when I started this way of teaching, asking students, the first answers actually I got after a while was like, it would be easier for them to get a bad remark than to have to face this difficult conversation. So then they actually stopped disturbing, because they knew that actually there was going to be a conversation of why, what they need. You know, there is in this question, what do you need? We give them empathy. We are not guessing. And usually with empathy, empathy comes back. If we are dealing with some students who are narcissistic, it will not work, you know, because the level of empathy is very low, or there's no empathy. So I'm not trying to tell you that it will work with everybody. It's not like that. But if you give empathy, people who have empathy, there's a chance that it will work. If you encourage them, if you ask them, I would say that really asking and listening to their answers, even if not agreeing with them, is a huge step forward. And I remember one of my first groups, I went to them and they said, "Oh, we are the worst group here, so we're not gonna learn efficiently or whatever." And I said, "Who told you that?" So yeah, all the teachers, all the lecturers tell us this. So they were labeled. If they were labeled the worst, they started to believe that they were the worst. You know, if somebody tells me that I'm no good, and it is repeated and repeated and repeated, it's like brainwashing. So then I can believe that I'm that. So if the feedback I'm receiving is negative, then I will start to think of me in a negative way. If the feedback is positive, and this is what actually Joanna mentioned in the very beginning about compliments, that it's easier for us to tell students, you know, to mention the mistakes they made. When something is wrong, when something is correct, we usually say, okay, and we move forward. So it's like, when it is okay, it's just in our heads like, oh, that's the way it should be. And we move forward. When something is wrong, let's punish the students. Let's just, you know, emphasize the mistake they made, and you know, shame is not a good feeling that our student can have. If our student is ashamed, then don't expect him or her to be willing to participate in your class or in your lesson. So if we want to start actually to change the student, I would say to change, but it's not what we should do to change the student, but to somehow imply the change in the student. Praise, if there is anything that he or she is done in a positive manner, say it as well. So if you actually open to say, this is correct, this is good, oh, I like this, then remember, if you praise, they will praise back, even if they in their own heads. So if you, I'm sure you remember some lectures that you liked, you still remember that, and then you maybe thought in your head, it was a very nice lecture, but you didn't tell the lecturer it was good. You didn't tell, oh, I liked it a lot. Yes, so never miss on that, you know. So if you start doing it, they will open as well, and they will say it. I know it may be difficult at first, but if we start doing that, it will pay off. I think this is actually the lecture, the subject of this lecture, how to manage the classroom, how to manage the students. So listen to them, ask them, praise, but set boundaries, tell them what your expectations are, because if we only have expectations, then they will not feel comfortable. You know, they also have some expectations, so just ask them what your expectations are, and you will know what they need. If you give them what they needed, it will be easier, because then you will get what you want to get.
This again shows the amount of pressure that lies on the teacher, I would say. But I think the teachers should be good psychologists, and they should try to read the classrooms in a way to obtain better results, to have better communication, to feel better. As I mentioned, that some of the teachers treat the classrooms as battlefields, which is, as we know, very often the situation. And I think to foster this emotional growth, foster academic progress, and also to have a nice classroom as a human business, I think, and also to at the same time to maintain authority. I think it's important to be consistent, important to have all of these ideas at the back of our minds, not only the curriculum, not only the syllabus of a given program, but also to somehow try to be in the shoes of the students. So also to reverse the situation sometimes. That's what happens to us when we go as teachers. We very often go to sessions and trainings, seminars, and I feel you know that when sitting at the chair where the students are, we feel this pressure. We automatically start thinking and feeling, okay, again, I'm a student now, so I have to behave, I have to be quiet, I have to follow the rules. And this is like we are switching into another, you know, world of behavior. There are also many aspects, as we were also talking about the inspirations in the classrooms. It's also quite an array of behavior in of non-verbal communication. If we keep the eye contact with the students, what we do with the phones, for example, the mobile phones sometimes are banned in the classroom. So I think sometimes they should be away, sometimes they may help. So if we are using technology, the phones are more than welcome because they may be an invention in the classroom. It really depends. As Marcin said, we should acknowledge the good behavior in the students. So showing the empathy, also focusing on solutions, as I also mentioned, this focusing on the deed, on the action, and not on the doer so much. I think the basic questions, idea and concept you should be taking from today's lecture is this, what Marcin said about the misbehaving classroom, and this question is, what do you need? Yes, the question is fundamental, I would say, because for some people it may be just shocking that somebody is at all asking them, even if they have low empathy. As you say, the narcissistic people will not follow this in terms of empathy or emotions, but they may be just shocked. And I think that is the key question that you should be noting from today's session, that it's a way of turning this upside down in a way, that you do something unexpected and the audience is somehow bewildered by what you did, and you have the results may be bigger than what you expect. So you may reach your point, you may reach this destination. So there are many kinds of actions for inspiration, for good communication in the classroom. It's also leading to solving some conflicts in the classroom. What some teachers sometimes do, they punish the whole class. Like there are 30 students in the class, one of the students did something wrong, okay, now you all get extra homework, like, reading this book for tomorrow or something like that, or writing the sentence 100 times, rewriting 100 times. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't encourage punishing the whole class. I would say just something like, picking up the wrongdoers and then concentrating on addressing this behavior, maybe addressing the proper behavior. So if you enhance, if you highlight what is the good option to follow, then I think it may be easier to execute it in the future. So all of this addresses the concepts of and strategies of management of the classroom. And finally, I would like to ask you, do you think the ideal classroom exists?
I would say it does exist, I mean, ideal for us and for the students. It's not that there is one blueprint and, it's like copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. We are people, we are different, and we need a little bit of this flexibility. If we have expectations, as we said, we ask students, and then together we can create the ideal classroom for just this very group, So I think it does exist, but it's up to us and the students to be open-minded. If we encourage them to be open-minded, then it is, I think it's possible. It's happened on numerous occasions in my life, and this is why I'm telling you the truth. It's happening and it's possible, and I trust it can happen. But of course, if you are open to do it, there's also one more thing I would like to say. I know we are about to finish, but I told you about praising students. Remember to praise yourselves as well. Teachers forget about it. We don't praise ourselves. Who comes back after 5 days of work and says, that's been a very good week, and then you maybe you make yourself delicious coffee and you drink it, thinking of, how good of a teacher you are. and you think, yeah, well done, job well done, I like my job. And, you know, you should also praise yourself. Because, again, on the one hand, we are talking about encouraging students to take part in our lessons. And in the chat box, when I asked the question, Joanna answered it and Irina answered it. So I can say, okay, so 21 people didn't answer it. Or I can say, it's great, 2 people answered it. You know, I can see you sometimes smiling, but, you know, Anna didn't answer it, Liga didn't answer it, yeah, Sergey didn't answer it, Vitaly didn't answer it, you know, Anatoly didn't answer it, Oksana didn't answer it. So should I think that it wasn't interesting? Maybe you just don't have keyboards, you know, I don't know, but I'm just happy that, you know, Irina answered, that Joanna answered, and I will praise myself for that. So it's been a nice lecture. I enjoyed it. So and it's been an ideal classroom for me. So from me, a big thank you to you and Joanna.
Thank you very much. And I can only hope that you enjoyed this session, as I think both of us tried to have you in our ideal classroom. Thank you very much. Have a nice weekend, everybody.